Toxic masculinity, a seed of domestic violence. What is toxic masculinity? Toxic masculinity is the state of mind in which a male feels that he must be emotionless, be aggressive, and be superior to the female population. One of the stimulus material that contributed greatly to this was Bob Dylan's "Blowing in the Wind," where he says this one line which says, "How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man?" And that brings to mind the feeling and urges that a man has to feel like he is a man that society presents. And then the other is a letter from Birmingham jail. Is organized religion too inextricably bound to the status quo to save our nation and the world? And that got me thinking about how often a lot of religions present themselves with traditions that seem misogynist and feeding into this toxic masculinity that males have. Toxic masculinity is greatly influenced by many sources in religion and society. These include Christianity, Islamic religion, sports and athletics, actors and role models, media, movies, and gang activity. This is a concerning issue considering that Christianity is a growing religion that is growing to be 6.1 billion people, stated by Bill Chappelle in a report done to compare Muslim and Christian religion. My next slide is how toxic masculinity feeds into violent tendencies. This includes the anger, the being emotionless, and the retort with aggression, because a lot of this feeds into what comes out to be cases of domestic violence in which a male feels threatened in his own household and must respond with aggression and anger. And this can be verbal and physical, which a lot of men don't recognize. And there's also a article on the conversation in which a lot of men don't even realize that they are subtly being abusers through domestic violence verbally, and a lot don't recognize it. Domestic violence coincide with toxic masculinity. A lot of examples would be like the Baltimore running back Ray Rice, where he was caught on camera while in an argument with his wife. He was caught on camera physically harming her. And there's also my family. A lot of my extended family have problems with domestic violence that revolve around the aggression, and I have actually witnessed this before, and it's not nice. And a lot of it is kind of unnecessary and uncalled for. And there's also friends' family, which I have heard. Friends have told me there are a lot of cases of domestic violence in which the father is just being angry and aggressive towards the family. My next is my first solution, which is a full revolution, which is to just stop the tradition in a whole, which means to get rid of all the toxic masculinity. Just don't teach it anymore to the kids. Present laws that could help with that. And this would be helpful because many didn't know that they were infected with toxic masculinity, as I didn't know myself, and I found out I did have some problems with toxic masculinity. And there's also to mold it down to the issue, which is to create programs to protect against toxic masculinity, which are to inform you about yourself and other stuff like that, and also to get religion and sports ethics to stop presenting this idea that you must be this and do this to be a man. Implications were that feminists have already started pushing for this, which is the equality movement and all that, and the demolition of the patriarchy. Domestic violence is scourged, and it's a good argument to push for this, which are that there's a lot of people in the population who want to push for this, including the women who are abused by domestic violence and the men who are also against it, not to mention the kids who see and fear for their lives because of this. Limitations are that there's going to be pushback against it, as a lot of males believe in gender superiority and the segregation between the genders, which is that goes in hand with the superiority, and stopping a tradition. So toxic masculinity has been taught throughout the history very often and for a very long time with all these religions that date back to BC, and it's kind of concerning. My second solution is sacred masculinity, which is taking some ideas of toxic masculinity and just weeding out the bad qualities that come from toxic masculinity. And so that's teaching them to be strong, which is strong but not chaotic, which is to be protective of your family but not dominating and becoming a tyrant in your own home. So you would keep this idea and you would teach it to your kids. So it would be just kind of evolving the idea of masculinity, so it wouldn't be toxic and it wouldn't be so aggressive and angry all the time. Implications are that it would be more widely accepted as men who want to still keep the tradition of teaching their men to be men. It would be easy for them to change just like small things so that there would be less aggression and less chaos in the world. The masculinity is still present, so it wouldn't be anything, wouldn't change that much, and it would be a very happy medium for both sides. Limitations are that traces will still be present, so masculinity will still be there, and most likely there will be a patriarchy still present, but it won't be as strong as it was. There may be a possible rejection, as some people might not want to change the tradition, so it would be a very small percentage, but nonetheless a rejection. Conclusion is sacred masculinity is better. It would be more widely accepted and easily integrated into our society. The full revolution would just have too much of a pushback, and society would probably result in failure because it would be rejected. Thank you.
Okay, so wait, Adrian, what information did you need that you weren't able to find or locate? And how did you go about trying to find that information?
Well, I felt like I needed more stories from outside sources between my family and my friend's family to find for cases of domestic violence, how like it would tie in, because I'm just going off of my word, and I couldn't really find any cases of like domestic violence without going through public records, which I had to be 18 and older to access. So I couldn't find anything to help give that argument.
Okay, and then what's the real world implications or consequences of your findings? And what are the implications for the community? Real world implications or consequences, influence on others' behavior or decision-making processes based on your findings.
So what I found was that a lot of the stuff I researched were studies done on the people who've done domestic violence, and a lot of them don't even, or who deal with toxic masculinity and how it like feeds into like their anger and aggression, and a lot of them don't realize it, and a lot of people didn't even realize that toxic masculinity was a thing. And I feel like if you're coming from an environment like mine where it was constantly taught to you and no one taught to you what like is actually going on in the world, that's probably a reason a lot of people just keep going on with this tradition, because they don't have the knowledge or the comprehension to know what is going on and how they're.
Please.